thank you, Jesse, for joining us today. We're reaching out to our legislators. Obviously, if it wasn't this crisis epidemic, we'd be happy to come down to your office in Olympia and have enjoyed that in the past. So, but we'll do with what we can. So we appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah. So we just wanted to let you know that we appreciate the support that you've given us in the past, and we hope that you will support. We lost out on one of our sports complex bills that are down there, but there's still the water and land conservation grant that we're shooting for, which is under our sports complex for $500,000. So we hope that you can be supportive of that in Olympia for us.
Okay. I provisionally looked through the House budget. I thought you guys did pretty well in the Capitol. Josh, were you able to provide that to him? Or?
Yeah, I was. We did receive, as the mayor mentioned, we are the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant program through Recreation Conservation Office is funded at a level that the city will see their $500,000 grant request funded for the sports complex. WWRP is not funded. I need to do the math, but we're either in the House, we're the next alternate project down. In the Senate, we're 2 alternate projects down. And then we didn't receive local community project funding in either the House or the Senate for this project.
Okay. So hopefully, we'll get some of that. It's not just pickleball courts or bocce courts, the event lawn, the playgrounds, but it also is 2 fields, AstroTurf fields. And, it's going to be helping the whole county, because a lot of our sports are it's not going to be just city oriented. It's going to be, the whole 65,000 people that surround Gig Harbor. So it's really a county thing in many ways. So we hope to have some success through that with your help.
Sure. Still happy to work with Josh and Annika. We see what we do in conference.
Great. We also, you've been a huge advocate for transportation, obviously being involved in that, and we really appreciate that. We're looking for, basically 1.16 million. You were involved with going around a couple years ago in the van to where we want to meter up at Burnham Drive. We want to meter that roundabout right there, because first thing, Pierce Transit, many years ago, we met with Pierce Transit and even took a trip with a bus to the hospital, and all of a sudden found out after years of working to try to get Pierce Transit to go to our hospital that they can't get into the roundabout fast enough, because their buses are just not that quick at a stop to just get up and go. So they were not able to get to the hospital. Whereas if we meter that roundabout, it will give the brakes necessary in order for those artillery roads of Target and the hospital to be able to enter that. So not only would it help the hospital, the roundabout, but it would also help Pierce Transit to do that. So that's one of our 3 projects that, are right around Highway 16. So we appreciate anything you can do. And if you need any more knowledge of that, we're happy to share that with you.
Well, as you know, I'm very knowledgeable on these things. And as you know, it was only a couple of years ago that I got funding to start these in the budget, and then Senator Randall stripped it out and gave it to bike paths out of the district. I alerted you all to that. And I'm very frustrated, to be honest, with the city, because I had money specifically targeted towards Willachet for the slip lanes. And that was going to be the basis by how we continued to chunk away at it in the budget. And not only there was hardly any advocacy put by the city, in my mind, to get a supplemental redress of that, to bring Senator Randall on board. But then, I just met with the deputy chair of the Committee of Transportation last week to again push to get those safety things, because Willachet and those slip lanes are needed due to safety. And there had been no advocacy made in his mind on this. And here I was fighting alone to trying to get dollars restored for you guys. And the chair and vice chair were unaware of it. And now we don't have it in the budget. And I find that frustrating, because I fought so hard to get that money in there for you in the first place. And then when I talked to the vice chair and go through the list of priorities, my number one priority was to get that money restored. And as I shared with you, the way that that budget works is most of the big things, it's $18+ million to redo Willachet. And to do all of the major infrastructure that we'd want to do in the city is never going to be done or given to us in a legislative budget. They're going to try to, if you try to bite it off one time, they're going to ask for it in a revenue package. And so the play was to start eating this slowly. Like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I got those bites in the budget, and then they were stripped out by our senator. And whether or not you want to play politics or not, the senator should have been brought to bear for that. That's a fact. It's in the documents. And then to see that there was no advocacy put to try to help me get that money back in for you, it made me feel like I was out in an island trying to get these projects on the transportation side. And I've been very good at getting them in the past, but now it seems like I have no support for this critical infrastructure in the city of Gig Harbor. So where are we on that?
Well, one thing is when Josh Weiss and I met you in the office a year or so ago, and you told us about that Emily had stripped that, I wasn't aware that happened. So, we were unaware, at least I was unaware that happened. So I guess communication is gold here. Sometimes we don't know of all these things that are happening. And if at any point, you want to bring something to our attention that you think we may know of that we may not, then we're more able to support you and support us. But a lot of times we're not aware that this is happening down there with this.
Well, and that's fair, but like you just noted, I did communicate this to you over a year ago. It's been over a year and a half and nothing has been done on it. And I needed some help. I wanted to get this money back. It's one thing if it's me fighting against a bunch of Seattle legislators, or if it was Senator Randall, me, and Representative Caldier fighting against a bunch of Seattle, King County based legislators that like to pool together so that they have that big kind of coalition to advocate for money. And it'd be one thing if it was us trying to get that. But in this case, I actually got the money in the budget for you, showed you that I had it, then showed you what the problem was and how it had been stripped out. And that was over a year and a half ago. And then when I start talking to the chair and the vice chair again this year about my number one priorities, which were the city of Gig Harbor priorities in the budget, they had heard nothing. So this wasn't that I hadn't communicated it. That's a frustration, Kit. I want to fight for you guys, and I have fought for you and have brought that money. And Willachet is a very scary intersection. People flip over on that northbound on-ramp all the time. And, but more importantly, to get a consideration that would be a long-term play to get the state to chip away at that project for us. We have other things. Keep in mind, the project that you brought up is on Burnham. But if we could get one or two of these projects done in the budget so that we don't have to ask for every single project in a revenue package, then it makes it easier for us to get the next one successfully down the road. And I could really use some more help on that, to be honest.
Okay, so what can we do, Josh and Jesse? Let us know what we can do so we're aware of it. I'm sorry that it seems like we're not, but we obviously want to support.
Yeah, and I don't know whether this was, you feel like this was my fault, Representative. If that's the case, I apologize. I feel like the city has been really very consistent. We had Representative Barkas out to look at the issues on both Willachet and Burnham. I feel like we've been, frankly, we've been very, I think, ambivalent about sort of whether this is in a revenue package or whether it's a supplemental set of projects. I think, the city's position has always been they just want the projects funded, and however that happens is a little bit over their pay grade, maybe, about the overall legislative components. But I just feel like I do feel like we've tried to be as clear as possible, and if I could have done that better, I apologize to you and to the city. I don't, at a certain point, here's where we are. We're on the cusp again of a continuing transportation revenue conversation. The city's requests haven't changed. We're happy to do what we need to do to make that happen. And with whoever wants to work with us, we appreciate your consistent advocacy. We know that you've been there for us, particularly on these projects time and again.
And if you can do anything to, we try to be on top of everything, but any knowledge that you can pass my way to support you and support us, please do so, because that we apologize if we're not seeming like we're trying to be as supportive as we are.
Josh, give me a call. We'll work on some things. We'll see if we can get something salvaged. The key for Willachet, which is going to be the key for Burnham or anything else, you start with Willachet because it's a safety issue and it needs to be a prioritized safety issue. And you're not going to make this, they've already not funded it. It wasn't in the chair's priorities. And according to the vice chair that I spoke with, wasn't on his radar at all, wasn't even brought up. So we need to advocate that this is a safety thing. And then we try to get this advocated in the budget so we can get these slip lanes. Getting those slip lanes is the start of the process of slowly cutting this into pieces that we can absorb in the budget over time and get you some measurable results. And again, I mean, I was successful at getting that in the budget in 2018 or 19. And so, I mean, so we have the precedent to make that case to get it in. I just need some help to get it over the hurdle again. It's unfortunate it was stripped.
So Josh, would that be a letter from myself and council to
Well, I would say that you need to go meet with the chair. Tell him why this is important. It's a safety thing.
Okay.
Meet with the chair of the committee. Get this on his radar. It should have been on the vice chair's radar too. I'd meet with him. They're all Pierce County folk, just across the bridge.
And we could certainly, yeah, we can meet with them again.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, they've been on site, but we can definitely meet with them again.
Great.
What else? What do you have a sense, Representative, how things are going on the transportation package? Is the revenue still a discussion? What's the story there?
You know, so the back and forth on it has been whether or not they think they can get their bonds or not. I don't know that they can. I don't know that politically that would be a wise move for them to move a revenue package short of having bonds lined up. Politically, that would be a tough pill to swallow. And you've got the consideration of the low carbon fuel standard coming in. And so it might be that they've got their hand in that jar and they're grabbing too many cookies. They're not gonna be able to get it out without breaking some. And that could be a problem. I mean, if we're just being realistic and we're talking the politics of it, they have some considerations on their side. Can they get it done? Because the fact is, after the last revenue package in 15, they put us close towards our ceiling with regard to our bond capacity on the transportation budget. And of the budgets that were hit in COVID, the transportation one was hit. The transportation budget was the one that was hit in a negative capacity. So I hear that they're probably going to try to move something. If they try to do the bond, then the other capacity is, can they get that bond passed? Because if they try to move a bond, it requires Republican votes to do so. And they have to figure out whether they can cut some deal and break off enough Republicans. They won't break me off. I will not vote for another gas tax increase. I never have and I never will, which is why I was, so adamant about trying to get some of these projects piecemeal funded through the budget so that we could get some performance on it. You probably have a better read of the politics there, Josh, with some of your other contacts than I do on that of where it's going right now. I would, so it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've heard more lately about things coming together on the Senate side, but just generally speaking, and not hearing as much action on the House side. We're also hearing rumors that they might come back in the fall, specifically to do transportation. But at this point, it's all rumor.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, I think the key to us is safety. We've got a good record out here of having some good bandwidth into our district. And so the key there is to market the safety of it and get it back into the budget. And again, like I said, I got it in there before. I'll put it in again. I need some help.
Representative, one thing that I know that you track really, really closely is the tolling issue on the bridge. I know that there was some money there, $32.5 million in the House budget to partially offset the need for rate increases, but sounds like the Transportation Commission's, going to be assessing this through the year. Do you have a sense, anything more than just that number about what's going on there?
So, well, it's good to know that the 32 million that you're talking about is the amount that's over and above what was needed to cap the tolls with the 2018 fix that Chair Fye and I put in place on the bridge. Right. So the money's there. Any of the, you might as well just throw away the Tribune when it comes to any reporting this, because they get it so wrong. So the fact is, we have the money stably in place. It took a number of years for Chair Fye and me to dig through all of the previous budgets and revenue packages of the past couple of decades, and we found money that was there and available. We consolidated it all up and then turned it into a loan that covers the rising bond payments. So that's covered. So then the question was, in 2018, do we put some type of kind of little relief valve onto the bill in case something came up? Catastrophic was usually what we would talk about in the case of if for some reason the toll revenue dipped, and we didn't foresee a COVID scenario, but that's really what the relief valve was there for. And in this case, okay, so revenue has dipped because traffic has dipped because people are telecommuting or not commuting at all. And in this case, here are the numbers. The last numbers that I had from the Transportation Commission were that the revenue was down about 6 million, and it may have varied from there when I last got my report on that. So even if it varied, let's say 1 to 2 million, it's somewhere in the range of 5 to 7 million that they're down. But keep in mind, our overage was this 32 million that we have in place. So I would advocate that the revenue will start to pick back up. But COVID is not going to continue to keep the revenue that far down. And so I would advocate that they don't need to, and I would recommend that you could advocate that they don't need to issue the escape clause that allows them to raise the tolls. Now, even if they do choose to raise the tolls, again, it can only go up 25 cents one time, and that's it for the life of the loan. But I have found that the Transportation Commission is pretty consistent that if they have an opportunity to raise the tolls, they will. They have a justification that they could try to scare people into it. So we have the bonds covered. That's guaranteed. The tolls come off when the bridge is paid. That's guaranteed. We have an additional 32 million on top of it. And right now, the lack of revenue is only down somewhere 5 to 7, which could be taken out of that 32 million. And then they would still have about 25 million in reserve above and beyond what they need. And so, and then they always have the ability to try to come back and raise that 25 cents later if they need to. So if you want to not see it be that option exercised, then you could. Those are the numbers. And if you, as a council and Mayor Kuhn, if you thought that would be a good advocation, then you would advocate and maybe write them and say, hey, we don't support raising the tolls 25 cents this summer, and exercising that clause. But usually their trend has been to do it, and when they have the opportunity. But that's why we capped them at 25 cents anyway. So those are the numbers on that.
Yeah, thank you. That was really helpful. I know we're down to 7 minutes. I don't mean to take up the conversation.
Other council, if you have questions, and also you have explained, Jesse, some things that we can do, which is great. Outside of that, are there other things that we can do either for Gig Harbor or to help you in Olympia?
Well, no, I appreciate the advocacy and the heads up on some of the bills around defund police. And of course, I'm serving on the Public Safety Committee this year, and we're trying to fight and push back a lot of them that I think will have detriment. I mean, it's really a King County, Seattle focused type of effort, but the spillover onto our local communities, I think, is going to be very problematic with regard to public safety and funding the revenue for these things. And so I appreciate your advocacy there. Keep me in the loop on anything that you find is specific, and we'll see what we can do to try to divert that or alter it in committee or on the floor.
Great.
To keep some proclivity for you.
Yeah.
If I could, Mayor, I think it's worth noting, just wanted to say thank you so much to you and your caucus on that liability bill. I think it was 1202, the tie bill, for putting that down. That was just a gut wrenching impact if that had passed. So thanks for standing up on that one.
You bet. You bet. I have tried to hard to write them right away when I hear things. The police and everything. Councilmember Abersold, you have a question?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I just want to thank and congratulate Representative Young. He was a strong advocate for the ROTC program within the Peninsula School District, and he put a lot of weight behind that. And I think that's a good program. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be grateful for that as well, who are going to participate in that program. It's a good thing.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, I think that's going to be an amazing program. It's been good in the South Kitsap and Bremerton school districts, and that offering here for our kids. And as you know, as you may know, we got them just $170,000 on top of what the school district's putting into it to kick that project off. If the city's interested at all in partnering to raise awareness for this, so that program could get going, because right now the school district's footing the whole bill. And if we have a really, really good showing on this program, then we might be able to convince the Navy to come in and they usually they have a fixed number of programs that they do, which means they have to drop another one that's underperforming to add another. And we might be able to convince them to do that, in which case the program could expand and the Navy would start picking up a good chunk of it, which would be a good thing. So I'm more than happy to work on that. And Councilmember Abersol, I'd be happy to work with you on that too. I'm a big fan of that program.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. It's Councilmember Denson.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that and let Councilmember Abersold and Representative Young know that Harbor Chat is going to be featuring the Navy JROTC program next Tuesday, the 30th. So if you want to learn more, and the post is on the Harbor Chat Facebook page now, so you can share that, and hopefully that will educate some parents and kids. There's even going to be some kids that participate in the program out in Shelton now, because the Commander Hood, who is now our commander, used to be the commander in Shelton. So he's got some of his cadets that are going to talk about what the program meant to them. So hopefully that will help generate some interest.
That's great. Thank you.
And just so Representative Young knows, Harbor Chat is on the Peninsula School District's public radio station, KGHP. So I'm sure a lot of the community will be able to hear that. Maybe we could get you in as a guest sometime.
I'd be happy to. Anything I can do to promote that program, count me in. I will make my schedule available for it.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, we really appreciate your hard work for Gig Harbor, and again, we just all want to work together. So it's good for us to be aware of some of those things. And actually, right after this, we'll talk briefly with Josh of how we can maybe meet with the chair or the vice chair and see how we can push, kind of help some of these things through on the safety. That was a great angle to work on. I know down when I had my jewelry store and there was a bad curb, the mayor in Gig Harbor at that time said, throw it under safety. You're going to get a lot quicker. So, and it happened, so thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you all. I appreciate the time with all of you. And I'll throw a shout out to Councilmember Markley. I seeing all the peripheral of the stuff you're doing for the homeless community, and I appreciate that advocacy. That's solid work. Thanks for doing that.
Great. All right. Well, thank you again, and we'll keep in touch.
All right, guys, have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So Josh, if you can stay on too.
Yeah, I do have another appointment at 4 o'clock though. Sorry.
Okay.
And
minutes.
if we want to talk about this in a lot of detail, yeah, I'd be more than happy to set up something.
If we need to
Independent.
reach out to this chair or this vice chair, I don't even know who that is. And so go ahead and send us an email when you can to figure out what we can do on that.
Yep, sounds good. Will do.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for the time. Nice to see you today.
Thank you.
Thanks. You may need to adjourn, Mayor, the meeting.
Okay.
Josh still there? Decker? Oh.
Yeah.
You lost